From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Some uninvited guests are coming for a visit. The warm, dry weather in recent months led many insects to emerge early this spring. For people, that meant pest control companies were extra busy. But for your plants, it's worse. Because plants are especially vulnerable to damage when moisture is scarce. So, as Memorial Day weekend marks the unofficial start of summer, today's guest will introduce you to some of the bugs who are coming for your plants. He'll also offer some simple strategies to help protect your plants. Kareem Garby is a horticulture specialist with CSU Extension who also studies insects and how they interact with plants. And he's a frequent In The NoCo guest. I spoke with Kareem on stage at a recent In The NoCo live episode taping in Fort Collins. Here's the conversation from that night. Hello. Kareem, we know that trees are stressed, and when they're stressed, they're more vulnerable to insect infestations. Why is that?
So trees have a finite number of resources to deal with various stressors, whether that's coming from drought stress or from insect pressure. And so imagine that you are dealing with the stress of everyday life and then you get sick. They just don't have the resources to deal with that extra stressor.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's kind of like the flu, but it's based on the weather.
It's like imagine you have money for winding down after work with a glass of wine or cigarettes or maybe something more wholesome, or you have money for medical expenses. You often are going to be stretched thin on one end.
There we go. All right. Sorry, now I'm picturing a tree with a cigarette and a glass of wine. I want to talk about how this warm, dry season that we had will affect the sheer number of some of the peskier insects. How do you expect this year will affect the grasshoppers this summer along the Front Range?
Yeah, so it depends on that frost that some of my colleagues were mentioning. Yeah. We can expect more grasshoppers to have survived the winter because we rely on a really cold and wet winter to kill those eggs. But also we rely on a late freeze or a moderate freeze to kill the grasshoppers as they are emerging from the eggs when they're babies. Mm-hmm. I know those babies seem really cute to people, to me at least, but that is the stage where you must kill them. So if we get, again, a late frost after those grasshoppers have already hatched out, then that can significantly curb populations.
Why are grasshoppers so devastating for a yard or a garden, and is there anything we can do about them?
It's just because we provide them with a buffet. Grasshoppers are usually not as problematic out in outside of urban areas. Yeah. It's just that in the urban areas being so hot and dry, that's the perfect environment for grasshoppers. There's often fewer of their predators in the city. And then again, we are planting all of their most delectable items, which we can actually use to help manage them.
Like what kinds of things?
Things with really tender and fleshy leaves like lettuce, leeks, onions. They love corn, certain annual flowers like zinnias, and also, a lot of grasses too, hence the name grasshoppers. Okay. But you can use those plants as what we call a trap crop, where you plant them strategically, like a sacrifice almost, hoping that the grasshoppers will accept your sacrifice and go to those plants and leave the ones that you want alone.
So wait, okay, so I could, in the way far corner of a yard, plant some lettuce and some zinnias, and then all the things I really want closer to the house.
Close, and not just any corner, but if you know where there's a nearby natural area where the grasshoppers are probably coming from, try to plant it like a bulwark or like a moat between the plants you want to keep and where they're coming from to abate the horde. Ooh.
What about Japanese beetles? That's another insect we love to hate. What? How do we feel about Japanese beetles, people? Okay.
No, I agree.
Okay. Are they going to emerge extra early this year? Are they going to be extra hungry?
If you want to see a map of where Japanese beetle occur, it's the same map as where just humans occur, because we create the habitat for them through a lot of our sometimes overwatered lawns. So I think that as some people, their lawns either naturally die back from just not getting the water they need, or if they're ripping out their lawns to put in something else that's more drought tolerant, that is going to limit the habitat for Japanese beetle.
And is that because in the grub stage it lives in the grass?
Exactly. The larval stage of Japanese beetle is very prone to death from drying out, desiccation. And so you can even help to kill them off just by letting your turf dry out more between waterings. Those Japanese beetle larvae will die and go where they belong.
I'm writing all this down. You mentioned before the show that this could be a bad year for the emerald ash borer. This has already killed or damaged thousands of trees on the Front Range, since it arrived. What makes this year an especially bad one for the emerald ash borer?
So with how dry and warm the winter was, a lot of ash trees are already coming out of the winter being significantly drought stressed. I'm not sure how many homeowners were savvy enough to remember to water their trees through the winter. No shame, no lawn shaming, a little tree watering shaming. But yeah, if these trees are already coming out of the winter stress, then again, they don't have any money for those medical expenses. They don't have the resources to allocate towards defense from emerald ash borer. And maybe not this year specifically, but climate change in general is making invasive pests like emerald ash borer more problematic through season extension. I like being able to hike earlier in the spring and later in the fall, but that also widens the window over which emerald ash borer can feed and proliferate.
It has a longer time where it's active. Okay. People in the foothills are worried this year about mountain pine beetles. How worried should we be in more urban areas about these beetles spreading to our pine trees?
Yeah, significantly less so. According to the Colorado State Forest Service's website, the mountain pine beetles, I haven't seen them recorded anywhere like east of, at least down in Denver, like in Littleton, is about as far east as they've come. Okay. And then even here in Fort Collins, I haven't seen really any outbreaks in Fort Collins proper. It's once you get a little further out west into like Bellevue where I've seen outbreaks. So urban areas, not so much.
All right. Well, just some big picture. What's your best advice for protecting plants and trees from insects?
Yeah, the most important thing is right plant, right place. Proper site selection will make sure that your plants are not going to be stressed from being constantly under or overwatered. And also knowing what are the pest pressures here. If you are always dealing with Japanese beetle, maybe don't plant as many roses. There are Japanese beetle resistant roses, and the Denver Rose Society has a really good list of those roses. Oh. But grapes are also going to be, really attractive to them. And I just really want to encourage the use of trap crops. It's not just for grasshoppers. There are trap crops for harlequin bugs, for flea beetles, for a variety of pests. So know what pests you're dealing with and what their favorite food is.
Okay, and do the bulwark.
For sure.
Kareem Garby, thank you so much for speaking with us. Please, round of applause. Sure. Your guide to helping your plants and gardens survive attacks from insects in a year when they're already vulnerable from lack of moisture. We'll have links to more advice from the CSU Extension on caring for your plants and landscaping in our show notes and at KUNC.org. And I just want to take a moment to say thanks to everyone who showed up for our In The NoCo live event, which was where I recorded that conversation with Kareem. If you made it to the show and enjoyed it, or you wish you'd been there in person, keep your ears open. The In The NoCo team is working on another live event for later this year. We'll share details when we have them. That's it today for In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thanks so much for listening.